Hello. Today I'm gonna draw this bug. I don't even want to pronounce the name. Cacopsylla annulata, maybe. I just put the word insect because I'm pretty sure it's an insect. So I really like this view because you could see you could see through it and its wings. So you can see the abdomen really hidden behind all of that, and it has some structure on its abdomen. These are ridge things that go along the contour of the body. So, to start off, I'm going to draw the ball of the head. And there's a lot of extra stuff that I'm going to have to attach to the head, because it has like a lot of these, well, it's got a lot of things, and it's kind of an interesting case to deal with. I'm actually thinking maybe I'll work on it with like a flipped view, just to be different. So I'm going to start off by drawing the ball of the head. Now I'm going to draw the thorax ball. Now I'm going to draw the abdomen, which I'm probably going to have to add some additional construction because it looks like it has this thing. I don't know what it is. Yeah. I'm going to draw some contour curves over the forms to kind of show where it's all headed. Well, I think for this one it should be a bit more straight. Okay. So now I'm going to draw the pilot holes for the legs. It's an insect, so it's got 6 legs. Sorry that I'm coughing. I'm just like that. So, yeah, usually with a lot of the shells of these insects, or insect armor, I'm pretty sure there's a more technical term for them. They have, there's a lot of obscuring when it comes to the body. And sometimes with a lot of these insects that fly, it's kind of like their back legs are always significantly farther. Well, actually, you know what? I would even go and say that it's kind of like the front 2 legs are a bit evenly spaced, but more often than not. And it's dangerous to make assumptions like this, but just based on what I'm seeing, usually the back legs are a bit more farther back. And I'm always wondering if this has to do with aerodynamics. Sorry if you see that appear on my screen. Sometimes when I save the canvas, it may show a loading bar. But okay, so now I want to draw some of the head parts. In the past, when I would do this, I would usually try to draw the legs first. But I think before I would try to draw lines for the legs to summarize their gestural flow. But before doing it this time, I want to draw some of the structure, because I feel like a lot of that depends on like what we're seeing. And sometimes when I would draw the gestural lines of the legs before that, I would end up having to replace them again. So to not be annoying, I'm going to try that. And to first start off, I want to draw this, how do I put it? Kind of looks like a skull, or like a portion of a skull. And it kind of, it looks like it hangs off a bit. Kind of like follows the ball of the head. Does that. Wraps around the ball of the head again. And I didn't forget about the eye over here. I was just a bit unsure how to fit it in. Because there are these interesting pilot holes for the eyes. And I will try to, I'll color in the eyes just so we know what we're working with. I feel like the eyes are one of those things that I should always try to color in because they're pretty good reference points. Okay, so now I want to, well, I think the gap was a little bit too big here. Okay, now I want to add the antenna. There's kind of like this structure that like recesses into the, well, these triangle-like things, but it recesses into them. Oh, the other thing, I wanted to show how, if you look at the photo of the insect, it kind of wraps around before it connects over here. So I wanted to show that along the ball of the head. Because it's like there are all these puzzle pieces of the head that connect together. Okay, but back to the antenna. Yeah, it's like the antenna. There are these big ball-like things that recess into its skull. So, you know, they're like in it. They're not just laying on top of it. And I want to draw a couple gestural lines to describe the direction that they are going. Actually, that antenna looks a little bit further. Maybe like to there. Okay, so now I want to draw there's like this connection thing going on, and it kind of like wraps along the head of the ball, so I'll show you what I mean. It's kind of like there, then it kind of like goes up. Well, not that far up. About to there. Well, I guess it's a bit more triangular. It kind of bows out a little bit. We have that. And now, and you know, the interesting thing to keep in mind is, you know, you see all of these pieces of insect armor, as I like to call it, and they don't always necessarily cover like just a thorax or just the abdomen or just a head. I mean, sometimes you'll see certain parts cover them. I mean, I guess every insect is a unique case, but more often than not, it's not always clear cut and dry where that begins and where that ends, unless you look at the underside of an insect to see the full story. But okay, yeah, there's this other structure that connects to that thing. Kind of like that. And then as we go further out, you have this shell. The other thing I wanted to quickly do, I wanted to add the tail end. And that connects to the abdomen. And it kind of like points out at the end. I'm not sure if that has to do with like reproductive systems or something like that. It's not a stinger, so I hope I don't make it look like that. But okay, I wanted to draw that because I'm going to be connecting that to this larger shell-like thing before I add the individual ridges. Well, actually, the interesting thing here is there's like a certain area where it kind of recesses in. There's kind of like another structure. Maybe I'll try to delineate that in a second. I think it's like to about here. So it's like about here, and it kind of like hangs off before it connects to that end. Kind of like that. Well, I may have made it bulging out a little bit too far over there. Sometimes you have to do a little bit of guesstimation. I think I went too far again. Usually the little overhang that you get with these insects, it's not that much. It's like a little bit, but it's not like a massive, massive overhang. I mean, usually when you see that, it's usually like hiding wings of some sort. But okay, we have that. And then there are these other ridging structures to kind of like bow as you go out. They kind of like wrap around the form. I'm seeing, let me think, 1, 2, 3, 4. There's like 4 of them. Then you have this intermediary connecting area that kind of like, well, what I'm seeing kind of like does that and connects. Kind of like bows out a bit. Well, kind of like that, I think. But alrighty. The other thing, there's also this, the wing structure that I wanted to mention. It kind of like connects to, well, I would say kind of the ball here. So I wanted to put 2 little pilot holes for where the wings will eventually go. And maybe I'll draw 2 lines quickly to kind of show what I will eventually use for those wings. Well, I guess that one is appearing a bit further in perspective, so I botched that, and it should be a little bit more like that as you go. But okay, now what I want to do is I want to draw the gestural lines for the legs. And you know, when you're viewing an insect from above, there's sometimes the legs get a bit obscured. Because we could see the eye, we can see the leg right here, and it's kind of like a little bit behind the eye, then coming out of the eye. Like, it's not coming out of the eye, it's just perspective with how it's going. But I mean, it's got to connect to that pilot hole somehow. Okay, so now the other eye kind of like does that. Well, it's a bit more tighter. A bit like that. Well, you know what? No. It's very close. Okay. Now the other legs, it has 2 more legs. I can see a little bit of one like here that's just barely peeking out. It has its legs tucked under its abdomen pretty well. And we also have these 2 legs over here. Well, not that far out. Kind of like that. Kind of like, well, you know, a little bit further. Kind of like that. And great, now I'm going to start drawing the antenna. So to start with the antenna, I'm going to try to section them off. They're usually like these little stacking cups, but in this case, they're a bit out of focus. So I'm going to just quickly cap them off near the ends and try to draw very thin lines connecting to them. I mean, if you look really closely, it seems like a lot of antennae follow this trend of kind of being like stacking, tapering cups. I'm over here, by the way. but they usually follow something along the lines of that. But the further away they are, they kind of appear a bit out of view. And I drew them a little bit larger than the reality of what they are. But there are all of these separating parts that build up the antenna. But alrighty. Now I want to, I also realized it kind of got a bit obscured, but the eyes kind of have like these, they kind of like recess into cavities, and perhaps I kind of drew over it, but I did want to point out how they do that. I mean, they kind of follow, like, if you look at a human skull, you'll notice how, like, there's like a recession where the eyes go, or a socket, so to say. And, you know, bugs have that same thing when it comes to the structure. But alrighty, now for the legs, usually there's always, well, I mean, more often than not, there's like this connecting thing, and we can kind of see it peeking out. Oops, did not mean to move that. And it kind of goes a bit like, well, it peeks out ever so lightly, kind of like that, before it connects to the connecting joint. And it goes up, over there, kind of like that. The shapes are, well, the shapes are a little bit out of focus. They're a bit more in focus here. So let me do that, as you're always dealing with a lot of these interesting, they always kind of look like panhandles to me, if I was to call it any type of shape. But there's a significant amount of tapering about there. It kind of like does that, does that. Okay, so now I want to do this leg. I can see two little claws at the end. I keep forgetting to draw those sometimes because they may not be in view, but they're usually there. I'm pretty sure they're just used to climb onto trees and plants and whatnot. Give them extra gripping power, you know? So there's the leg entry point is here. There's a leg entry point there. It's always kind of hard to guesstimate them unless you're seeing an image of the bottom of them. Okay, so now I want to draw the wings. And I'm not sure how much of them I should cover. Whenever I do the wings, I've been thinking of like trying to quickly summarize like the entire shape of the wing first, before I then try to get a little bit of the structure. I tend to struggle a lot with trying to get the actual structure that makes up the interior of the wings, because it's like the closer you look at it, probably the more you see. But it kind of follows this trend. It kind of comes back and wraps around the entry point. Kind of like that. And these wings are ever so slightly overlapping a bit. you do that. It's kind of like they fold. I think on like ladybugs or lady beetles, what some other people may call them. Oops, I messed that up because it's too pointy. But with them, it seems like their wings like fold in perfectly into their beetle shell, into their ellipsoid-like shape. And I always found that pretty cool. But I guess there are always exceptions to that rule. Okay, so I drew the general shape, and I'm trying to show how they wrap around here and here to that structure, because there is a bit of a structure that kind of comes off the shell that connects those wings to their socket holes on its thorax-like shell. And I don't know if it follows that rule in which the wings are always attached to the thorax. I mean, I would think they would have to be, but there's probably an exception somewhere. But okay, now I'm a bit debating whether I should do that, but you do have these structures that hold together the wing or help support it in some way, however it grows. I'm probably going to botch a lot of this. And the other thing that's important that I'm probably leaving out is these wings have some thickness to it. I'm drawing them as a single line, but the reality of them is that they have like this thickness. To them. And that is important to keep in mind. And sometimes it can be very hard to practice to draw lines close together without them overlapping. Something that I lack a lot of experience in, but I will practice a lot to get better at. I think hatching is what they would call it. Well, I don't know. It's not the appropriate term in this case. Oh, too thick. It's very difficult to match it. Too thick, too thick. Yeah, definitely, I made it way too thick, but I'm going to work with it. But yeah, I think before in previous videos when I tried drawing the wings, I didn't focus on that thickness, and even when I drew these interior parts, you do have some of that as well. But I don't always like to focus on detail, and when I make these videos, I try to focus on the big picture thing. The other thing is, I hope I made this clear as it's a bit hard to see, but it's kind of like you have these, in this area over here where the wings are, you kind of have like these S-curves that sort of overlap. Kind of like that. I just wanted to point that out, in which that's kind of like the shape language of it that I'm seeing. The other thing here is I realized with the left eye there's this bulging out part that I probably didn't do justice to showing, because that's part of the socket. And I think I may have not done the best job at showing how that connects. And even here I think I made it too far in, or over here I made the thing too far in, so I'll try to make it a little bit wider. But yeah, that's how I would tackle this insect. Thanks again to James Reben for this lovely photograph. Yeah, I keep thinking maybe I made this part and this part kind of going in too much, when the reality is it just kind of gently goes out, and it's not so much of an S-curve, it's more of like a C-curve. But yeah, thank you for sticking along. I do greatly appreciate it. If you like my channel, please subscribe. If you like the video, please like it. If you have a question, please ask in the comments. The app I'm using is Thumbtastic. It's a free application I made just to reference images in an easy to view format. But yeah, thank you very much for listening to me. Bye.